Welcome, everyone. My name is Shelley Reed. I am the manager of the Legal Services National Technology Assistance Project, and you have arrived at the I almost said project manager community office hours, but that is not why we're here. We're here to speak about website content, and I am going to turn everything over to Laura Quinn.
Fabulous. Welcome everybody, and to thank you for coming. We are going to do a little bit of an experiment today with some fun tools in Miro to take a look and think about um, roles and staffing for legal content, which seemed like the highest area of interest in the last meeting. So I thought I'd see if we can take it on. So this is, as I mentioned to Shelley, this is either going to be really fun or it's going to completely crash and burn what I've designed. And if it crashes and burns, then we will have a discussion and we will just abandon it. While people are joining us, let us, since we are a community, I'd love it if people were to introduce themselves, to maybe say their name, what organization they're with, and maybe one thing that they're hoping to get out of today's discussion about roles and staffing. Um, I will, maybe I'll just go down my list for ease of going through this. Um, Shelley has already introduced herself. Thank you, Shelley. Amanda S.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Sauber. I work with Legal Services State Support here in Minnesota, and I do a lot of the website content management stuff here, along with we're now bringing on a new staff member as well to help out with some of that stuff. So interested to see what you have.
Fantastic. Great. Shanita.
Hi, I'm Shanita Chintaplin McClelland. I am the legal content director at Illinois Legal Aid Online. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I would love to learn about how others are breaking out the work in legal content and getting ideas for the best way for us to do it on our team.
Fantastic. Great to see you again. Danielle.
Hi, my name is Danielle Blair. I'm the administrative director at Alaska Legal Services, and I'm also just curious about how others are staffing. We recently reduced our tech staff, so I'm looking for great ideas on that.
Fantastic. Great. Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace Kuby. I'm the project manager at Wisconsin Law Help. And there's a content manager as well. We have a program manager and a content manager, the two staff members working on the project. And we're sort of figuring out who is best to take the lead on what. So I'm curious to see how that works in other organizations.
Fantastic. Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Garber. I'm a project manager at Washington Law Help for the Washington Forums Online and one of the public legal education attorneys at Northwest Justice Project. And since we redid our website, we're rethinking our workflows on content, and so just curious to hear from others.
Fantastic. I'm just going to go back to the top to see who might be. Nope, I think I'm still going. Leanne.
Hi, I'm Leanne Friedman. I work with Lori Garber at Washington Law Help. I'm another one of the public legal education attorneys, and this is my first meeting, and I'm just interested in hearing how other organizations get it done.
Fantastic. Welcome. Marilyn.
Hey, good morning, all. I'm Marilyn Zupkoff from Community Legal Aid SoCal. I am the Fund Development and Marketing Coordinator. This is my first meeting. I feel like my job title is a little bit different from everyone else's, so I'm wondering if this is the right meeting for me. I do update our organization's website, more content updates. And then we do work with like a consultant who kind of does like the bigger like WordPress like tech things for us. And yeah, similar to I think it was Danielle who said we've kind of recently downsized some of our tech stuff as well. So yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, we're not going to be, in fact, I don't have very much tech stuff at all on
Okay.
the list of roles. So we are looking specifically at writing, editing,
Oh,
management,
great.
that sort
Okay.
of stuff.
Awesome. Thanks.
Great. Let's see. That was Marilyn. It moves in alphabetical order as soon as I call on somebody, which makes it really weird. Melissa.
Hi, I'm the website coordinator at Kansas Legal Services, and our site just got upgraded to Drupal 10, and we're going over all the content and changing things, and we have more features now. And so I just want to learn from other people about content. You can always learn more about content.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's see. 4 more people. Millie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Millie Herr, and I am a communications specialist for Community Legal Aid SoCal. I work with Marilyn, who just spoke a bit ago, and I pretty much ditto what she said. This is my first meeting with y'all, and curious to see what you all have to say and what people are doing. And as she said, we have a consultant that helps us with the WordPress stuff, some of the more technical aspects of it. And but she and I keep a close eye on the content. We do all the audits of the content and so forth. So yeah, glad to be here.
Fantastic. Great to have you. Nicole.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Minnis. I'm with Illinois Legal Aid Online. My colleague Shanita on the call as well. I am I'm like the newest member of our team, so I'm really here just to absorb knowledge and see how other people do things. Thank you.
Fabulous. Pat. You're muted, Pat. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, Pat, we will wrap about around to you. And last but certainly not least, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Harris. I am the content manager at Ohio Legal Help. Yeah, and I think that like everyone else, just kind of curious to see how everyone does this job, that there's not like a whole lot of established rules about how to do it. So yeah.
Fantastic. And is there anyone I missed?
Hi, I'm Michelle Seckinger. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida. This is my first meeting as well, and same as everybody, just looking for ways to help improve our content and definitely help streamline the process, because when you have a small team, it's a lot all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry I missed you, Michelle. There were a lot of M's and I got myself confused there.
Understand completely.
Fantastic. Anybody else I missed? All right. And Pat may still be typing. I will introduce Pat a little bit because I know who Pat is. Pat works with Pro Bono. There we go. Legal director of New York programs, essentially law help at Pro Bono Net, helping to learn from everyone and leverage your strategies, especially to support my constant requests for more staff. Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, so here is what I am. So I mentioned at the front, I'm not sure everybody was here with me for this, a slightly off the cuff comment, that I have an exercise that I am excited to try out. It's either going to be really fun or it's going to completely crash and burn, and then we will just have a discussion. And I am prepared for the second, but I hope for the former. So what I am hoping to do is to look at the types of roles that one can have And I have prompted us with a number of things, but you can certainly do have other roles. There may be roles you have that I haven't accounted for, and arrange them into people. So actually, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and this is going to be a little easier, I think, to visualize with actual. So we've got kind of, if you imagine these as the Lego blocks, we then are going to try to say, all right, for my organization, here is what my staffing looks like. So for instance, here's an example one. I've got a legal content manager, and they are actually a lawyer, and they are writing from their legal expertise. They are also writing plain language. They are managing input on new articles from stakeholders. They are managing the review from older articles on stakeholders. And they are themselves reviewing and updating. So logically, so a lot of different aspects of writing. And the idea is that this whole bar adds up to a person. So this implies that maybe 25% of their job is writing legal stuff out of their own legal brain. And then a little bit more than that, maybe 30% is plain language writing. So they're taking their own stuff in plain languaging it, they're taking other stuff. And then there's other things here. Perhaps this organization has a translation manager, and they are themselves translating content. So let's say they're translating the Spanish content. They are managing translations. So they're managing translations into Chinese and Vietnamese. And then they have a whole nother part of their job, which is irrelevant for the part of legal content for websites. So maybe they're coding in WordPress. That would be an odd job combination, but whatever. There is a half-time admin support person who is writing descriptions of, this actually became resources and referrals, posting to the website. And then there's about 25 different, should be like an entire bar for somebody managing those stakeholders, but 25 legal subject matter experts providing legal information and reviewing for legal accuracy. Just a slightly different, so here's somebody who is doing it all themselves. They are writing plain language. They are managing input and reviews from their legal subject matter experts. This person looks like they're not a lawyer. They're not actually writing any legal stuff. They're managing translations. They're doing some checking in on SEO, and this actually became AI LLM metrics. LLM is large language model. All right, and just one more. So we've got two people who are doing pretty similar things, except that somebody is doing reporting and they're doing it's so little of it that it doesn't even fit the lines, and that's fine. In fact, we could say that they're doing, there's one person, they're doing 15 things and none of the lines fit in. All right, so here are our roles. So back to looking at this for a second. Just starting off, are there anybody who has questions? So before we get into questions about the meanings of these actual boxes, is there anybody who has questions about the actual exercise? I'm going to ask you in just a minute to take 5 or 10 minutes or so, we'll see how long it seems to be taking, to create these little bar chart role things for your own organization. Are there any questions about the exercise, about what the hope is, or how like the boxes come together into people or things like that.
Are you wanting us to focus on just the content creation folks as opposed to the whole team of people who may do other things on the website or yeah.
Yes, if you're unsure, you're welcome to include. But if there are whole obvious things that one might have for a website, like UX or things like that, graphic design, and they're not in my list of roles, it's probably a good signal that I didn't think it was part of a content team. So yes, this is not the entirety of the team. This is only things that are content focused. Any other questions, either into the chat or by voice? All right. Let's look at, and if you do, you can continue to ask, because I'm now going to move into, as I was kind of quickly going through those examples, or as you're looking at these boxes now, are there any of these that you're not clear what the role means? Or you're not clear the difference between things, or there are things that seem notably missing that you feel like a bunch of people are going to want? All right. Everybody's anxious to dive in. All right. So one of the things that becomes interesting is that there is, and I knew there would be, multiple people from some of the organizations. And it certainly makes sense, I think, for you to try to work together. I did not get my act together to try to do breakout rooms. So I'm going to ask you to work together in kind of approximate silence. But I do want to give you your own areas. So I have Southern California, Illinois, and Washington as 3 teams that have multiple people. Are there any other teams that have more than one person here? All right, great. I'm just going to ask people to, and I'll give more explicit instructions on this in just a second. I'm going to ask people to drag information to just kind of their own area of the screen to work on it. So in fact, if you're pretty sure you know what you're doing, you're welcome to start. I am going to, oh, I thought I had these locked. I'm going to unlock the examples so you can copy them. Please try not to ruin the examples for other people. There's 2 sets of boxes of roles. The one at the bottom is copyable. The other one is locked, so we don't lose them. So you're welcome to start, drag some stuff off, and do your thing if you feel like you know what you're doing, as I give more specific instructions. Southern California, why don't you see if you can meet to the upper left of the current board and just type in the name of your organization fairly large and see if you can find yourself over there. Illinois, if you could do the same on the upper right. So type in Aleo and start doing your thing. And Washington to the lower left. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to copy either an example that seems pretty close to yourself, or the roles, or both, and drag them out into your own area where it seems like no one else is, sorry, not drag, because you're copying. So I'm showing you right now what this looks like on my screen. I've just copied it. Miro is a little weird. Oh, someone actually, I'll put it back. There was a link to, oh, this doesn't, interesting Miro link functionality doesn't work for Miro links, which is fascinating. So there is a link to how to navigate through Miro if you have trouble. In general, it wants to work through left clicking and using a roll bar on a roller thing on a mouse, if you have that. So basically, I'm going to copy the roles. I'm going to move down here. I'm going to put them here. I'm going to say this is Laura's organization. And then I also think, by the way, I'm hitting the shift bar and I'm clicking. I also think that example 3 looks pretty like my organization. So I'm going to pull that too, and dump it down over here to give me a starting point. And now I can start saying, okay, well, I don't manage translate. This person doesn't manage translations at all. Instead, they do this. They have this title, etc. to start work. All right. So I am going to ask everybody to start. I am going to put 7 minutes on the clock right now. And I'm going to ask you to, if you're having trouble, and I suspect that some of you will, to put them in the chat, just so we don't disturb other folks. So I'm going to put start a timer so we know where approximately are. And obviously the idea of this is when we're done, we are going to look at what we have and we're going to discuss. So go ahead, try to get a start. And chat me if you're having trouble. Someone can steal my board down at the bottom if you want. Definitely let me know if you are struggling. I am seeing no questions. I'm really surprised. Miro is not the easiest tool to get around in. So definitely let me help if you need help. I am also seeing people working. Thank you. Two things to keep in mind as you're going. Most of you are doing this, but if you can try to, if someone is full-time, if you can either make the box approximately the same height as other full-time people, so we can tell about how much they're working, as opposed to just having a little tiny box that represents their whole role. And if a writer or someone who is working is a lawyer and is actually providing legal expertise, can you make sure that you have the legal expertise box in there? I mean, I guess they could be a lawyer and not actually providing any legal expertise. But so we can tell the difference between staff people who are lawyers and staff people who are not. Thank you. I'm going to put another 3 minutes on the clock. All right, take about 30 seconds to polish things off to the extent that you can. You've got, oops, multiple thumbs up from me. We've got some organizations who have just one person and they are only doing like 4 things and they were done 4 minutes ago. And then there are organizations who have like 4 people all doing 7 roles at like 30%. And yes, this is quite an endeavor for them. So All right, I'm going to delete actually, so if you could take a moment to make sure that your name is on your organization. I'm going to delete the examples. So make sure that I don't delete you because I think you're an example. Whoa, sorry, that was too much together. Why is that all grouped? Okay, well, I'm not going to delete that because that's deleting half the stuff when I delete it. All right, and if you scroll out, it's very exciting. We've got lots of different models here. So I was hoping that one of the things we'd be able to do was that I would be able to kind of cluster and see like things together. It is not easy to tell what is like things together, so I wasn't able to cluster them. But what we will do is maybe I'll ask somebody to quickly share to take maybe 3 minutes. And then I'll ask organizations to who have something like that to kind of just do a quick compare contrast. And so we can go through as many of these as we can while we're together. And then I'll ask about sharing before we get to the end. Wisconsin, I'm just going to move you over. You've got this fancy frame thing that I can't figure out, but I'm going to put you in a different fancy frame thing. Wisconsin. Great. Who would be comfortable starting? I can get everybody over to your thing if you volunteer and just tell me where it is.
I can volunteer. It's georgialegalaid.org. I think it's bottom of that page you were just at.
Great, I see you. So I can bring everybody to me, I believe.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Okay.
And I think, in fact, everybody can still see my screen. Is that true?
Yes.
Great, perfect.
Do you want me to speak on it?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. So right now it's only me managing georgialegalaid.org, and it's only about 30% of my role. But I've been trying to get it established in our intern program to have interns who have their supervising attorney right there to be going through suggested review changes that I've had volunteers do through a pro bono project opportunity. So they're not starting from scratch. They have something to go off of for reviewing and updating. And so this is like, I guess, the ideal proposal. So it's not just me, even though it's still a lot on me, who would be the website manager. But we have some money to give to an internal staff to help do human review of AI translations that we're hoping to start soon with probono.net. So I guess this is me showing that everything's on me than trying to delegate. But I'm excited to see other people's examples.
Fantastic. Great. And I'm also seeing a representation here that you yourself are not an attorney, right? But you are managing the input from a lot of attorneys.
Yes. I have more expertise on reading comprehension, accessibility.
Absolutely. Yes. Certainly you will not be alone in that, in having, a role, but not being a lawyer, having a critical role. Great. Who else is feeling like there's some similarities between them and what we're seeing in South Virginia? So perhaps many things on you or you are not, or you've got a number of people who are not attorneys who are writing.
I would say Ohio Legal Help kind
Great.
of mirrors this model. So yeah, I'm up I'm to the other direction of Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, Illinois is a nice benchmark because they have a lot of people.
So basically this is I think a pretty good representation of how things actually are in our organization. So I'm the content manager. I'm not an attorney. One thing, once I started doing this, I kind of realized that an option that wasn't really included was like the distinction between writing for plain language and writing for legal expertise. There's like kind of a third thing that is like research and kind of like just like information gathering about like how stuff works in practice, which is kind of an in-between place here. So like I am not a lawyer. I wouldn't say that I am the legal expertise person on our writing team, but I do a lot of legal research and research into like how things are happening at court in Ohio. So basically you can see here, yeah, I do a lot of the managing things, the stakeholders, the translations, the content team members. I spend a lot of time also writing and doing document assembly forms. So I do most of the plain language interview writing. Then we have our data and forms specialist, and what she's doing is mostly the technical matching up the plain language interview to the PDF forms. And then she also does metrics and monitoring SEO performance and all that. In terms of the more like plain language writing and research angle, we have a half-time content writer. We do now have a second lawyer on staff who is a like legal fellow. She's a recent law student graduate, and she has a discrete project she's working on about different legal help topics related to reentry. And then I would say the real like expertise and legal review comes mostly from outside volunteers, so people who aren't on staff. And then our executive director, who is really the like legal reviewer that is a part of our team. The other thing I just wanted to flag is that we do have, so we use Transcend as our translation firm for Spanish language and anything that is like related to a form that might need to be reviewed. For the majority of the content on our site, we do use AI, but we have a very, very part-time translation QA Spanish consultant. So anytime because when we translated the Spanish site, we had it all done by Transcend. So it was a much more like hands-on process. And we wanted to maintain that level of review that like we didn't want to just throw that away when we started using more AI translation. So we do have she's a grad student that I knew from a different part of my life, but she is getting her PhD in Spanish language, and she does all of our QA since no one on staff speaks Spanish.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Rachel. Great. Who is feeling like they have something that is kind of a step from Ohio Legal Help or Georgia, who's willing to so something that's not completely different, who's willing to share next? Okay, how about somebody who is completely different, who's willing to share next?
I'm from Wisconsin, and you moved me, yep, right there.
All right, I did weird things to your name.
So we have two full-time staff members. I'm the project manager. I am an attorney, but I didn't need to be one to be hired in this role. So it was just like by happenstance that I have that background. And then we have a content manager who's not an attorney. So we both started on the project in July, and we're sort of still figuring out sort of how we best support each other and interplay in our roles. As the project manager, we're still working on developing and creating our site. So that's a piece that's really squarely in my wheelhouse that I work with the developers on that. I also manage the content manager and help with getting input on articles. I run a stakeholder meeting with community stakeholders in the state. I do the SEO metrics and AI. We're working on or thinking about AI integration into our site. And then like some other miscellaneous tasks that fall. And then the content manager really focuses on plain language writing, reviewing and updating. She connects with subject matter experts for the legal review of the articles and then handles the posting to the website.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah, of a note to me so far is that so none of the core staff have been lawyers. There are a number of organizations who have most of the content written by lawyers, but there is, I think, potentially a growing trend to have, it's hard to be both a lawyer and to write really user-focused plain language. So people move in who have a different model as well. Great. Who else is willing to share?
I can go for Leo.
Great. I know where Leo is because it's big.
And Nicole, feel free to jump in whenever you want. Nicole's also on the call here. So we have 7 people on the content team. The organization has 22, 23. 6 of the 7 are attorneys. 4 work directly on the content. And I'm sorry, it took me a while to figure out how to use the Miro board, and so I need to go update a few more things. But essentially, we have 4 legal content managers who work on the content. We divided up the content areas, and then the other half of our job is something else, like volunteer coordinator, which is what Nicole does, or interns and fellows, and then translation. We moved to MotionPoint to do our translations about a year ago because it was too tough to try and do those translations ourselves. And that's worked really well for us. And then we have 2 people doing Easy Forms, and then a non-attorney who is our project manager and also does social media videos and a bunch of other things.
Fantastic. Is there anything that you would kind of point out is different about your model than others you have heard talked about today, or that you suspect others will be talking about? So just as we think about kind of the meta picture.
I think there's, whether or not you have to be an attorney, or it's better to be an attorney or not, I think there are definitely pros and cons for each of these things. We are not subject matter experts, with the exception of maybe Nicole, who is in immigration. And 2 of us actually were just recently barred in Illinois, though I've been in Texas for 25 years. But we rely heavily on our subject matter experts and Nicole's program to do the reviews for us. But dividing up the content areas for us has been super helpful. And then the person who is the project manager, the non-attorney, is also our head person, our lead person for plain language and doing trainings for plain language. And he has been incredibly helpful to us in doing reviews and training our interns and fellows to also do plain language review for us as well.
Terrific. Fantastic. Who else is willing to share?
Hey, this is Marilyn from Community Legal Aid SoCal. I can quickly share mine. I'm kind of in the upper left corner. So as previously explained, you have myself, Marilyn, and then my colleague Millie on the call. And so the column on the left basically represents our positions. We basically update the website kind of on an ad hoc basis. We don't have like a lot of like legal resources on there. It's mostly just like brief information about like our legal services that we offer to the community. And then we are an LSC funded organization. And so under their guidance earlier this year with the current administration and all of that, we actually took a lot of stuff off of our website. I would say we were updating a lot of parts on our website for our systemic impact unit, who was doing a lot of great work like around like immigration. They had like a book ban case, right? Kind of some of those like hot button topics where we were constantly updating information about like progress or progression in those cases. But unfortunately, we made the tough decision to take that information down. So again, a lot of the stuff is just kind of ad hoc updating.
Absolutely. Yeah, another interesting thing to note just as we look at each of these is, as we had talked about last month, for those of us who are here, that depending on kind of the maturity of the content on the site, there are some people who are spending kind of a majority of the time writing writing new stuff. And there's others who are spending a majority of the time updating old stuff. So this looks like an example of, am I right in thinking that you are spending the majority of the time writing new stuff as opposed to reviewing and updating old articles?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, definitely new content going on more so.
Great. And I know the folks from Washington last time told us the opposite. Would you guys be willing to, so one of you to present?
Sure. I think we're down lower left.
Thank you for knowing everybody where you are. There we go.
So we are an attorney heavy team. And actually I realized I didn't call out the managing attorney, who's one of, I lumped him in as the public legal education attorney. So we have a non-attorney website manager who does a lot of the technical work and UX and just is the forward thinker on a lot of things, and manages all of our translations and a lot of the posting, but not all of the posting, does a lot of the reporting and metrics for us. But then we have 3 what we call public legal education attorneys who are subject matter experts in a variety of things and do a lot of the content writing themselves, and are also good plain language writers. And so we do rely somewhat on external subject matter legal subject matter experts for specific things that we don't have team expertise on, but a lot of things we are the experts on, which is helpful because we all practice within the organization before we, as service providers, before we join the Law Help team. And what's new about our rebuilt website is that now all of us on the team post directly to the website and have direct access to the CMS to be reviewing and updating, which has just sped up our process a lot, and just made us a lot more nimble in making changes. So we just went through a period where we did rewrite a lot of our content into new formats for the rebuilt site, and now we're kind of shifting back into that editing maintenance phase of things. And then there's one person who's me who has kind of 2 roles. I do kind of some of the work of the regular public legal education attorney with writing and posting, but I also create the online interactive forums and post directly to the website and create my own, do my own feedback and metric monitoring, and could really use someone who is like Ohio's model, where I've got a technical partner who can do some of that legwork on the some document assembly forms, because it really is not something that an attorney needs to do all of, and we would have a lot more interactive forms if we had staff helping with that.
Really hard stuff. Fantastic. Thank you. And just moving over to Pat's. So Pat in New York Law Help. Pat, are you still, are you able to speak? I'm assuming no, because you put it in the chat.
I think I'm still I changed
there
my mic settings. Hey, great. Thank you. Sorry about it. I'm having computer drama this week. So I don't know that I follow the rules here now, which is why it's great that I have an amazing project manager whose brain works very well for systems and structure. At best, I get to spend, maybe 25 or 30% of my time focused on the website content. And I'm the legal director. Generally, I'm looking at content, thinking about its readability. Since I'm not a subject matter expert, my background is immigration. I like to think I have a lot of the questions that readers would have. So when I don't understand articles about, the eviction process or whatever, I can work with the subject matter experts for that clarification. And so we have kind of a back and forth process where we review content overall. We focus on sections of the site. We look for, missing or overlapping articles. And then when we drill down to like the actual creation of articles, a lot of times Karen is the plain language writer, is taking her first crack at revising some of the content we have. And then I review it from kind of an attorney perspective and consider the, potential like legal questions or nuance that we need to refine. I think that just about covers it. And then we both can post on the site. I find that to be so easy, and it's almost as quick to post something as it is to tell someone how and where to post it.
Absolutely. That's another, I think, just kind of trend we're seeing across this, that almost no one has kind of a pipeline to a person to manage putting stuff on the site. That if there are multiple roles, if there are multiple people, then they're all posting. Great. We have 5 minutes left, and I would like to talk about the potential, so both a potential for next meeting and potential next steps for this. Is there any, we have just a few, I think, that we didn't look at. Is anybody feeling the desire to talk through theirs that didn't talk? Great. I am thinking that this would be very useful information. In fact, for many of us who are saying we would like more staff, it would be useful information to have public in some version. Can you enter briefly into the chat whether you are so I think there's 3 levels here. So basically, your information cannot be made public in any form, anonymously or otherwise. You are comfortable with the information you put in. So this is going into the chat. The information you put in can be made anonymously public. So basically, I take your name off of it, or you're comfortable with it, with your name going out into the world. So if you could just put that into the chat, that would be helpful. So.
And Laura, think maybe we should clarify, since this is being recorded, there's some.
Yes, okay. So it is
so some
already
sharing is already going to be public.
going out in the
However,
world.
I think maybe what you're referring to is a printed summary of this that organizations could use when looking at their staffing levels. Is that
Yes.
maybe
Some kind of not yet determined in my mind, yes, summary of this. So if you could enter into the chat, so totally confidential. Well, no, it's not totally confidential. Don't publish, and we'll know what that means. Anonymously or free to do what you want. I'm just going to wait 30 seconds for you to type that, and then I'll have a next question for you. Great. Fantastic. Thank you. I have some topics that people suggested from the last meeting, but I'd love to spend just a minute for you to say into the chat. We have this fabulous group of folks who are, all doing website content for legal organizations. What would you like to talk about as a group, or what would you like to hear about from somebody? What topics? Enter a topic or two into the chat. Schedule and track their updates. Were you with us last month, Pat? There is a recording from last month where we did touch on that. I think you were there though, so maybe something more detailed? Yeah. Great. Other people have other thoughts on topics? AI. So it had not come up. I was actually kind of surprised that it didn't come up in the last meeting. I myself would certainly be interested to hear what people are doing in the realm of AI for content. Yeah, in this very limited capacity. Great. Certainly feel free to put it in the chat if you're still typing. But in the meantime, we will close. Thank you so much for your time and your participation. This was a very participatory session, and it did not crash and burn. So I'm really excited about that. Shelley, any last words to wrap us up?
Just thank you everyone for coming. The project management, why am I stuck on that? The content management listserv will be coming out shortly. We're working out some last tweaks, and then we'll be able to have more than just these monthly meetings to continue to share and help each other in these roles.
Fantastic. Thank you so much all, and hope to see you next month, next third Thursday. Thank you.